welcome. This is Joyce Edison. I want to welcome you to the Workplace Wellness Forum. Today, I want to welcome my guest, Cheryl. Cheryl Meyer.
Meyer.
And I was looking at your name, and then it says Health Muse. Is that your nickname?
My moniker is Cheryl
Oh,
M. Health Muse because
I
I want to inspire you to be healthy.
okay. I was just like, that threw me for a while. I was like, I thought it was Myers. Just like, okay, help me. That's neat. Tell me about that.
Well, when I was looking when I got sick and I got well and I decided I wanted to share all this information with the world, I started looking for a name that expressed what the brand was going to be that I wanted. And I really want people to be inspired to adopt healthy habits. I wish I had done it before I got sick. So that's where the name comes from.
Okay, well, Cheryl, I am glad that I'm no longer confused. So, everyone, welcome to Cheryl Myers. Cheryl, I'm so glad that you're here today, and you've already introduced your muse to our audience. And today on the Workplace Wellness Forum, we're going to have a fabulous discussion. I love the red color; it looks beautiful on you. I
Thank
love
you.
your energy and those your books I'm seeing in the background.
Yep, I laid them all out.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. So Cheryl, tell me, what is your story? What brought you to where you are right now?
I was an entrepreneur. I had my own jewelry business for 20 years, and I was not paying attention to my body.
Hmm.
I was working 24/7, and the universe started giving me signs that something was going awry, and I simply didn't pay attention to it. Went
Hmm.
past me with the speed of light.
Hmm.
And so first it was I get little rashes. Then my underarm deodorant started to bother me. It either made me rash or it made me blister. Then it was my mascara. It made my eyes water. It made my eyes itchy.
Hmm.
Things were happening that were not right.
Hmm.
And that's because there's something called toxic load that was building up in my body, and I was missing all the signs. Then I
Hmm.
woke up one morning and my lips and my tongue and my eyes were almost swollen shut. And by going backwards, I figured out we'd had a guest in our home and she did the laundry. And as a favor, she went up into the cupboard and pulled down fabric softener sheets that I had hidden because I knew they were giving me rashes. Only this time I reacted way worse than just a rash. I still didn't stop to ask my body what was going on. And
Hmm.
then about 3 weeks later, I woke up in horrific pain. Every muscle, every joint in my body hurt. I had terrible brain fog. I was more tired than when I went to bed at night. Um, so I went to the doctor and she ran lots of tests 4 times and finally called me and said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. I
Hmm.
want to put you on steroids and then I want you to seek therapy. So my reaction was, first, why would I take steroids if there's nothing wrong with me? And
Hmm.
I know I don't need therapy because I hurt. And I do know something's wrong with my body, so I'm going to research it and I'm going to find out. And so I dug in. And I had a very good staff that had been with me a long time. So I turned my business over to them and I dug in and I tripped into the functional medicine community, which is my doctor went to Yale. I finally found my own functional doctor. They're regular doctors, but functional doctors mostly got sick themselves and couldn't help themselves. So they went
Hmm.
back for additional certification in functional
Hmm.
medicine. And the
Hmm.
difference between a conventional doctor and a functional doctor is the conventional doctor will pretty much listen for the first complaint and then match a pill to it. A functional doctor wants to look at the whole body and find out what's going wrong. So,
That is so amazing, and I think that's where our stories connect when you talk about uh, taking care of your health and paying attention because that is so important. You mentioned some little things that most people most likely would take for granted. You mentioned your mascara was water in your eye, and
even
your lipstick was.
hyperallergenic was bothering me.
Yeah, and those are things that most people just say, oh, I'll just get a different one, or
Hmm.
maybe, and those are little signs that people miss every day. So I'm really glad that you're talking about that and helping people to see that these are all signs we should read and learn about. So this is great.
And they could
So,
be as simple as looking in the mirror in the morning and realizing you're all puffy.
mhm,
That's a sign of inflammation. And I knew I had what I called cute days and uncute days. Some days I looked like me, some days I was all puffy. That
mhm,
was a sign that something was going wrong with my body.
mhm, mhm. Amazing, amazing how much people just go through life without a roadmap. And I think that happens when people don't have a roadmap to wellness. They don't know what to measure their wellness scale on. And so they just think, I'm just having an off day, like a cute day and a
Right.
not so cute day. And that's
Well, and
what
it's
really,
not unusual when you're a boomer to take painkillers because you get
mhm,
little aches and pains and you think that's
exactly,
normal. And I'm here to
exactly.
tell you it's not.
Hmm. It
You don't
isn't.
have to get all those little aches and pains, and you sure don't want to be taking over the counter medication for it. There are natural things that will take away the pain without the downside of the over the counter medications.
Absolutely. And there are things we can do to reduce the pain in the first place, right?
Right.
Reduce the inflammation, reduce a lot of the toxins in our body. Cheryl, what is one thing that you do more now? Tell us a little bit about the work you do and who you work with.
Mostly I work with other people now who have chronic illness because I want to first give them hope because they're running into doctors who are saying the same thing to them that was said to me. It was very lonely to know that something was wrong with me and my doctor didn't even begin to understand it or give any credibility to it.
Hmm.
So I find people who need to tell their story, who want to share their health history. And when the way I actually returned to a place of no pain was I did two big things.
Hmm.
I figured out how to lower my stress, which I
Mhm.
knew I had. I'd had
Yeah.
friends telling me about it, but
Mhm.
I thought it was making me get more stuff done. And guess what? It slows down productivity. And
Yeah.
so I've learned a whole series of exercises I do that let the steam off the stress so that it doesn't become chronic. And then
That's
I
interesting.
eliminated toxins from my life. I literally eliminated hundreds of toxins. And as a result, I was able to come back to a place with no pain at all. So that's what I do as a coach, and I help people do that.
Hmm. That's so powerful. No, not everybody even understand toxins and what it can do to their body. But because this is the Workplace Wellness Forum, what I often see is that many people, even though they're having the signs and symptoms, because they have a job, because they have a responsibility, because they're probably a business owner, because that job, that project or something is so important that they cannot leave it and step away and take care of themselves. So tell us a little bit about how you said you had great employees to leave running the business, but that might have been a lot tougher than you make it out to be. Tell us how you went through that
Well,
process.
I'm a type A personality, so I was working 24/7. I did
Mhm,
all my own sales, I did sales, I designed all my own jewelry. I manufactured silver and fake stone jewelry overseas, and I sold all the big box companies in the United States.
mhm,
So they were great. They took care of all the customer service, but all the rest of the management things I did myself. And giving that up and trusting that somebody else was going to be able to do that while I figured out how to heal myself took a little bit of doing because I had been used to doing it all for
mhm.
my whole life. And yet it was really important that I learned to let it go. And then when I went back into the business, they continued to support me much more so that I could stay in a place of health,
So
which was
you
important.
learn how to delegate, you learn how to trust your people to get things done even without you being physically there.
Correct.
So the control that you had, you recognize that you had to actually substitute that for your own wellness.
And they all had jobs that they owned. I come from department store retail. When I ran a store, everybody had their own tasks that were theirs, and I understand ownership and how important it is that
Mm-hmm.
an employee has their own things that they're responsible to contribute to the
Mm-hmm.
whole. So that part was easy. They were more than happy to add on to their areas where they already owned their jobs. And they did it almost seamlessly. I could have done it much sooner and slowed myself down before I got to toxic
Mm-hmm.
sickness. But it really was wonderful that they stepped forward to take
Mm-hmm.
care of the business while I was starting to take care of me.
What do you think kept you from shifting more responsibilities to someone? Because I know many business owners, they're solopreneurs, they work by themselves, they don't have bookkeepers, they don't have human resources department, they don't have all the different elements that comes to managing a business. And as the business get more successful, they actually don't go ahead and apply because, like you're saying, you're used to doing everything yourself, so you just go ahead and do it. And that's where the burnout comes in. That's where the overload and the stress comes in. So what, when you look back, what would you have done differently?
The big thing that I needed to give up was being the person who met with all the customers. But it also was a reason for my success because by
Mm-hmm.
meeting with my customers, I literally designed lines specifically for that retailer's business. And if I sent in a rep to do that, which I did after I got ill, they never heard the same things that I heard in the appointment. So it's an adjustment that you have to give up some of the control and that you can still function and move the business forward. But as soon as I could, I started being the person who met with the customers again, because that was the important bond that moved my business forward.
Mm. So did you notice a change when you had to give that roll up in your business functionality versus when you came back and took it?
It took a little adjustment for the customers to know that I could once again design lines specifically for their client base. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a little period of relearning trust
Mm-hmm.
because that's what our original relationship had been built on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I loved
Mm-hmm.
because I had been a jewelry buyer at one point in my life, and I have what I call great drums that pick up what customers need. So I would shop all the stores, I would see what they didn't have, and then I would fill those needs. So by
Mm-hmm.
not having that and not being out in the marketplace looking at all of that, things slowed down a little bit, but that was okay.
It was okay because you were able to manage your health, and if it could have prevented you from getting ill, looking back, it sounds like it would have been worth it.
It would have been worth it. But it's also been worth it to figure out how to get myself well now. I
Oh,
wish I had done it
absolutely.
before I went over the toxic load
Hmm.
because I have autoimmune disease. I will always have autoimmune disease, but I have learned to control the pain. I just have to be careful that I continue my healthy habits because the minute I don't, my body tells me. And so it's more than worth it to keep them in
Absolutely.
place.
Absolutely. So when you said you started your research to get well, because your family physician obviously didn't understand what was going on with you, which is not a bad thing. It's just not their training to understand this whole
Right.
area of autoimmune, and there's more research
And it's
now that
hard to
it
find in tests. It's not an
exactly
easy thing to diagnose.
diagnose or to put a finger or print on. It comes in so many varied forms. So when you said you start, what did you go about doing? What was your first step for someone who's looking at this, who has a very busy job, or have, is running a department, um, have a lot of responsibility, or maybe just running their own business and maybe feeling that something is going wrong with them? What would you suggest they start with?
I would suggest they go to my website, and in my blogs, I have a blog, 20 Hidden Signs You're Not as Healthy as You Think You Are.
Mm,
Because they're all the things that my body was trying to tell me about that I was ignoring. the brain fog, the exhaustion. The exhaustion was a direct result of low cortisol from my stress, by the way. The puffiness in the morning, the aches and pains that didn't have to be there. I have a whole series of things that you can go through like a checklist. And if you have things that are on that list, then it's time to start paying attention to your body. When I talk to groups, the first question I ask is, when's the last time you asked your body, how do you feel? Because I ask myself in the mirror that question every morning, and I adjust according to what my body says. You have to ask the question, and you have to get quiet enough to let your body tell you, because it will.
That is so powerful because as I listen to you, it is very important. And then I see my clients, I see the rat race, I see the busyness, I see the multiple responsibility and tasks and everything they're doing, burning the midnight oil and all the different pieces. And what is it that would arouse them to want to take that step, not wanting to burn out, not wanting to lose control of what they have, and staying healthy are very good things. All of us know health is our wealth, and without our health, we cannot run our businesses or have the lives we want to. So when you start doing your research, when you started your research, what was the first thing you uncovered that got you excited and saying, I think I'm onto something?
Well, I was determined to figure out what was going wrong with my body. And as I said, I tripped into the functional community, and they were running 19 symposiums with multiple doctors talking about different ailments in the body. And I listened to every doctor in all 19. And there were some themes that started coming up. Something called leaky gut. What the heck was leaky gut? I thought, okay, I need to start doing research on that. Did I have autoimmune disease? It sure sounded like I had autoimmune disease, so I started doing research in that. And I figured out there were two things I could do for myself right away. I could start to eliminate toxins from my life, and I could find ways to release my stress. So I started doing a series of little exercises, which I still do to this day. I break up every day intermittently so that I let the steam off my stress before it becomes chronic, before it becomes toxic.
I love that. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to share with our audience one or two of those stress tips so they can see. And you said there's quite a few more in your book.
Yep,
so
I have several.
What's in your book. So give us a demonstration of what is one simple one you can do. Why does this one work? What do you require to get it done?
Well, only one takes equipment, and I will show you the equipment because it's an odd looking thing, but it works like a charm. The one I use the most is called Dr. Andrew Weil's 478 breathing exercise. And it's interesting. There is a new definitive book out on breathing, and he considers that one of the best exercises. I know it works because I drive in LA traffic to go see my functional doctor, and my blood pressure was always sky high. And now that I do his breathing on my way out, I have a better pulse and lower blood pressure than any of her patients. And it's really, you can look it up right on Google and Zoom and do it with him. And it's just, you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, and then you blow it out with your tongue up against your teeth for a count of 8. Doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go, it's the rhythm. And you do 4 rounds of it. And that actually resets your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your reptilian brain at the back of your brain, and brings your pulse down and your stress levels significantly down. So, and it's easy. You can do it anywhere, and nobody even needs to know you're doing it who's sitting around you, especially if you're in a workplace. You just do it. I use it to go to sleep at night if I can't fall asleep, because sleep is also crucial to health. And the new findings on that is you've got to get 7 good hours or you're going to get dementia. So I use it to fall asleep the minute I hit the pillow, and it works like a charm for that as well.
So tell me again, what's the name? Let's just repeat that so people
can. Okay, it's Dr. Andrew Weil, and it's the 4-7-8 breathing exercise.
WILDE? What?
WEIL.
WEIL.
He's interesting. He went to Harvard Medical School with the
And it's
intention of
called
never being a
the,
doctor.
it's called the what? The four what?
It's called the 4-7-8 breathing exercise.
4-7-8 breathing exercise. Okay, so
He's the
everyone
father of
listening,
integrative medicine.
and he's from integrative medicine. Yeah, he's
Right. He started the whole school of integrative medicine. He wanted to bring all the modalities together.
Excellent. And you had another one with your little machine there, little
Okay.
contraption.
You can do this. This is called a belly button wand. You can do this exercise either with the belly button wand. I pulled this out for health coaches and they started giggling. But I actually saw Dr. Emerald Meyer at UCLA do brain waves on people before and after using this, and they went from erratic to very calm, and he became a huge believer. The theory is that 30% of your blood is actually in your belly, and your belly button was the beginning of all life. So by putting, you can't see me doing this, by putting this in your belly button,
if you stand, we can see. Stand
and just wiggling it. Let's get up.
Okay.
Just putting it, well, still. You just put it in your belly button, and then you just jiggle it. And you do this for 2 or 3 minutes. If I've had a tough day, my husband will get on the floor and we'll do it to each other. And you can feel the blood flowing all the way up to your brain and all the way down to your toes, which is what you need this to do. And this also resets the parasympathetic nervous system. They've discovered that doing this with like burn patients helps them heal.
You can sit back down now so we can see you. Yeah, thanks.
Helps them heal much faster than not using the belly button wand. And that's been proven and tested and peer-reviewed.
Because more blood flow goes
because more blood flow goes through the body.
And, oh my goodness. Such simple things. And, our bodies are so complex yet simple.
Yeah, they are.
And taking time to fully understand and respect the simplicity of our design is what always awe me. I too I've been working with a naturopath for over 20 years. I just finished Dr. Will Cole's book on the inflammation spectrum. I follow many of those and the thyroid and always are the Dr. I think it's Dr. Axe on the you talked earlier on about the leaky gut, and he's one of the leaders in that area.
Leaky gut is the beginning of all chronic illness, so it's important that people know about it. I didn't know anything about it, but I know a whole lot about it now.
Exactly, and it's so important. But I think that belly button piece, that is definitely something very different. So whose research is that, the belly button piece?
It actually comes from a Tao Korean group that has a large, I got married 5 years ago. We had 2 homes. We sold one. We bought a house in Sedona, and they have a 150-acre reserve in Sedona. And we both have taken several classes out there. And the master of the group came up with this, and it's really an amazing tool. If you don't have the tool, you can also get pretty much the same result using your 2 index fingers. I find it easier to use the tool, but if I don't have the tool, I'll just do it with my fingers, and I get similar results.
Interesting. I like that one, and that is definitely something I learned. So thanks for sharing that piece. So you see, not just my audience is learning, I'm learning too. And I love bringing on guests because we learn so much, right, from each other. And I think that's beautiful, being able to do that. And I'm going to write it down because you know why it tweaked me? Because in my last book, I have an entire chapter on the belly button syndrome. And my take on belly button, I'm coming from a conflict analyst perspective, is that we all have belly buttons, and because we have belly buttons, we're not perfect. We're humans, and so we need sympathy, we need empathy, and here I'm seeing the biological linked to
Right.
it, and the
Well, and
blood
we
flow, and
have
I'm like,
gut feelings,
exactly,
which is
exactly.
also connected to the chakra that's
Yeah.
in that area.
Mhm.
It's all interconnected.
We are so interconnected, and I think that is so incredibly important for us to tell our audience and for us to continue talking about how very interconnected we are and how very important it is for us to spend that time and teach that, because too often people are not aware of how interconnected we are. And I usually do a little piece after the just to show people the model, and this is where we're coming from. We're coming from looking at wellness from a multidimensional perspective. So we know that it's not just going to the gym and eating a healthy diet. There's so much more. There is what we breathe. There is what we there's how much sleep we get. There is, the stress, and releasing stress is so many
Well,
intricate
stress
and
actually does cause leaky gut. So I had to take care of it and I had to build my cortisol back up. That
yes.
was one of the first things I had to attack.
So let's talk about the process of rebuilding your cortisol level, because um so there are signs when your stress is high, there is too much cortisol in your blood. So that depletes over time.
Right. Well, over time, then you can't produce it anymore. And so you start to store it in belly fat, which is around the gut. And so the way we fixed it was really fascinating because my conventional doctor was aware that my cortisol was very low, but didn't, I wasn't diseased yet. And so that's when a conventional doctor reacts. My functional doctor immediately tested my DHEA, which makes cortisol. It wasn't difficult to take a supplement that increased my DHEA
Exactly.
and replenished my cortisol. And then once we got that done, what I use now is an Ayurvedic. I use Rhodelia, which
Mhm.
is an Ayurvedic flower
Yeah,
that
Cordelia.
if I wake up in the morning and I'm tired at all, I immediately take Rhodelia drops because within a couple of days, it has built my cortisol back up to
Wow,
where it belongs and I feel great again.
isn't that amazing? Now, this is something that you just came to me. Is there ever a time where your cortisol, your body is able to produce it again at a good level?
Right. Well, what you want to do is you want to help it out. And then
Mhm.
once it gets there, then it starts functioning more normally.
Again.
Plus, I'm not depleting it as much because I'm now dealing with my stress.
Taking time to heal.
Right.
And I think that's where often people get confused. When you say you need to manage stress, there's been so much mixed message about stress management and how we manage stress. So there's been some confusion and actually a bit of resistance. Some
Well, and
people
not all
don't
stress
like.
is bad. There's there's normal stress, which we have in our day in and day out life. And then chipping bang, you go over the line and it becomes chronic and toxic.
Mhm.
I was allowing it to be chronic and toxic because I thought that it was kicking in my fight or flight, which is the caveman response to it,
Mhm.
which was
Mhm.
helping me get more done. I didn't realize it was actually the rocks around my ankles slowing me down.
Hmm.
So yeah, we don't realize
I
that. And
like
there is
that.
there
The
is a
rocks
fine
around my
line.
ankle. I
There's
like
a
that.
fine line between regular stress, which is normal, and chronic stress, which I call toxic stress, which is not.
And I think that's the difference where most people get confused. They don't understand how the daily stress and not stopping the stress and taking those momentary rest periods where your body can rejuvenate is so important in the stress management so that it doesn't become chronic. It doesn't mean that you will never have stress or never deal with stress, but it's those
It's part of our
pause.
everyday life.
Yeah.
And the movement can be as simple. One of the other things that I do is I will stand up right next to my chair and just bounce. for
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Just move and let everything get loose
Yeah.
and just bounce.
Yeah.
And you'll feel the energy going all the way up to your brain and all the way down to your toes. You do that for 2
I
minutes and
love
you're
that.
completely rejuvenated.
This stays under my desk. This stays under my desk. It's one of my stress management piece, and those little things we do. I also have this one piece that I use. This one I got from my chiropractor, and it's really good to relieve the muscular stress in the hip from sitting. So I did. It has these little gritty things here, and using that, and then it has the smoother side, but just this is just little things, and
Yeah,
it's not expensive things, and it's not taking away from what you're doing. And I think that's the message we want to send, that yes, you can still be productive, yes, you can still work, yes, you can still, because
there's
since
small
you
adjustments actually be more. Uh-oh, I lost you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
For a minute, I lost you.
I
You're
heard a
back.
little bit of a double clicking. I wanted to ask you a question though, because I think that is something we have to make really, really clear for people. Because since you came back, and in even with managing your stress, you're still productive. Because how many books have you written?
In 3 years, I've written 4 books.
There you go.
2 of them are over 400 pages long. But I swear some of it I channeled because I had done so much research and I knew my mission was to get out what I had learned to the world,
Mm-hmm,
that I sat down and it just flowed out of me.
mm-hmm,
The first book has won 14 awards, so I know it's helping people. And in the first book, I share, where did I find all the toxins? How did I research? What did I find? And then what did I replace all those things with?
exactly.
And people don't know how to do that. And when I say toxins, people said, oh, it's boring. I don't want to go there, blah, blah, blah. You need to know. I don't know if Canada is as bad as the United States, but there are so many toxins in everything in our lives.
Everything we do that's
Everything,
external, everything. It,
everything.
yeah, mostly everything we use is manufactured.
Right. And in those manufacturers, a lot of those ingredients aren't even regulated at all. I was using a makeup that was very expensive from France. It was a 9 on a 10-point scale. I was literally poisoning my body right through my skin. You
Mm-hmm.
need to know these things. Your cleaning supplies, perfume and fragrances. What's coming out of your tap?
Mm-hmm.
All of that has toxins in it. And if you're drinking out of plastic water bottles, you're not only getting the toxin that was in the tap, it's less regulated when it's put into the plastic bottles. Then the plastic leaches toxins into it, and little microbes of plastic go into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a full house system on my house now where we get all those toxins out of the water, because I also don't want to go in through my skin in the shower or the bathtub. And then I carry these everywhere I go, which are
Mm-hmm.
stainless steel bottles
Yep.
that I put my filtered water in, and I carry jugs in the car so that I fill them up myself.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, these are 1995. So in the beginning, it costs more money. It amortizes itself almost immediately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I often say to people, what you put in supplements and detoxing your life is actually sometimes cheaper than what you pay for medication, prescription medication.
Oh, absolutely. And what you eat, food is medicine.
Yes.
Medicine is not
Absolutely.
medicine. Medicine is sickness care. You
Yes.
want to eat and give yourself the right nutrients right
Yes.
out of the start,
Yes.
and you need to eat all the colors of the rainbow, because believe it
Mm-hmm.
or not, each color has a gift, and when they
Mm-hmm.
get together, they form a synergy that creates health in your body. I
Mm-hmm.
like to joke that they create a little party in your body that
Absolutely.
makes you feel good, and your body wants to heal. I was
It
amazed
does.
by that.
It does. It does want to heal. And Cheryl, I'm so excited about this topic. And, I'm a believer. And so I love getting together with people who also believe. But there are many people who are so completely unaware of what's out there and what needs to happen. And this is a great opportunity to help them to learn what's out there. So the Global Workplace Wellness Summit is coming up, and we are going to have a store, and I will be connecting with you to see how we can get your books in the store. So
Absolutely.
our audience can have access to all of these amazing information and research that you've done, and what you've put out
And
there in
it's
terms
just
of
a
information.
little book. I call it a desktop guide. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted it to be something that didn't take up space, but that was handy for you to use throughout the day.
Oh, good. Excellent. Great. Cheryl, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much. I know I've gone over our time, and I appreciate everything you've shared. And let's stay in touch. And you will definitely get a link to this video once we have it up. And I look forward to staying in touch, connecting, and collaborating as we bring more information to the audience.
Thank you. I love talking to the workplace because I think it could make a huge
A
difference
huge difference.
in companies' productivity, in the health of their employees, in their insurance rates, everything. It's important
Absolutely.
to instill healthy habits into your employees.
So important. Thank you, Cheryl. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Be
Thank
well.
you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.